No wave is the same, but the ocean always remains the same. Always, and waves are changing constantly. But each wave brings something new, and it's never a negative, it's always positives. Ocean always cleanses, wave always cleanses. I love my storms. I love being in the eye of a storm, and that's the center of that wave. I am Native Hawaiian, and my name is Akskeli Ahunui Okalana Ole Okohio Stone III. I go by Pōhaku because my dad was, his friends called him Pōhaku, and when he passed away, I decided to just, carry on that name. And Pōhaku just means stone. That's all. There was a time I wanted a lot more because I came from a very, very poor, family. I mean, even though it was the best time of my childhood, is that we lived on the beach. We lived in a little shack about the size of this patio right here, in the back of a barn. Breakfast was 2 pieces of saloon cracker and Lipton tea with butter. And then dinner could be the same thing, So, I was always wanting as a child to have more, but I realized that I didn't need that much. I didn't need any of that. I mean, I could just walk out the door anywhere I was and find food, and I was taught to make my own clothing. So I realized that I had an advantage in today's society and in our contemporary world that I really didn't need, and money was just creating more problems. It's the ocean that teaches me through surfing that you can always overcome anything that the world throws at you because you're not really immersed in it, whereas in the ocean you're immersed and it's always life, and surfing is my way of life. I mean, if I don't do surfing, then I can't really understand what else I'm doing as when I'm standing on land, because ocean is home, and that means waves are timeless, and I ride a wave every day. That's how important it is to me. Out of all the kids at that time with me that were on the beach, and I realized that the reason they never paid attention to all that is because they were well off. They all had nice, shiny, contemporary fiberglass surfboards, and I was poor and I had nothing, right? So I had to ride what the uncles had, and that was the wood. Step one is that if I'm gonna cut a tree, it takes a long time to find it, because I know specifically what I want to find, but it has to be in a state where I can bring life back to it and not kill it. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is bypassing, bringing it down or whatever it might be, is acquiring it and getting it cut to where I want. And before I can even cut it, it depends on its moisture that's left in it. Some woods, you want a lot of moisture, right? And some woods, you don't want a lot of moisture. So, I mean, like the Willy Willy, you don't want to lose all the moisture, because that particular tree or that particular wood, if it dries out completely, it just turns to dust. So always just preparing the wood for its transitions. And once we get it through the transitions, then it's deciding based on its imperfections or its perfections of how and what it is and how I'm going to cut it and things. It's just my chainsaw. Just whip out my chainsaw and just say, hey, that's the way it's going to be. And I cut out the basics and then take my pencil and sketch in what we'd call the nose or the front end of it, or just sketch that in and then adjust the lines. I don't follow grain. I follow the imperfection to maximize the use of the wood, right? Instead of minimizing. And then once I get all that cut out, then I just rough everything out, and I usually put it aside for a little bit because the wood has to acclimate to its new form, right? Because trees always want to go back to being in its natural state of the way the tree really was. So if you think of a tree, that there's all this tension in the grain. So if you cut off certain sections of it, the tree is going to want to try to replace those. So it'll bend itself and all this thing. But so, I usually soak it with salt water or bury it in a taro field and let it transform from its one spirit to the other spirit. It's a way of putting, exchanging the life that was passing and the new life coming in. And then bring it out, dry it, and then work with it, right? And then each step is that you reach a point where you have to let it. It's like a child. You have to give it time to grow. And that spirit that grows in it, so you always set it aside, and then the process keeps going and going and going, and then the finishing is just oiling it, so I mix it with certain types of traditional plants and kukui nut oil, and if I don't have kukui nut oil, coconut oil, and if I don't have that, if I'm someplace in Europe or something, then I'll use like linseed oil, for example, just some kind of oil, because then that keeps the wood pliable. It doesn't become rigid and want to just fight against its new body form. So whereas, that lubrication of within the wood and the salt that's in it, for example, and things like that, just helps the body grow. It's really weird how I talk about it, I know that, but it is. It's a living entity. Every tree, every plant, every bird, everything on this planet, every rock. If it wasn't for those gods, we wouldn't survive. Acquire just what you need to allow you to go surf. And I realized, for example, my wood boards. Everybody goes, oh, I need this and that to go surf. And I go, well, I don't know. I got my wood board, that's all I need, actually. Yeah, but you can't do this and do that. I go, yeah, but I can ride a wave. I can ride a wave and smile and have fun. And it's just having fun. I mean, if you're not enjoying your life, then you pretty much suck at it. Pretty much. I mean, if it doesn't make you happy and you're always trying to be happy by acquiring more, you're going to be unhappy forever. I'm trying to discard. I'm trying to get rid of less. I don't need all this. And so when people call, and I just give it away. They say, here. They go, oh, yeah, but I go, hey, if I need it, I'll get it again somehow. Right now I don't need it, so you need it, take it. And the children, the kids, my wood boards, people ask me, oh, how much are my wood boards? I go, it just depends. But I could give a board away that's worth $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, you know, retail, selling it to raise funds for a nonprofit to a young person. And I always remind them that learn how to make it yourself. And if you ever need to eat, you know, food, sell it.